Have you ever heard me say that I think stories are medicine? If not, that's what I think. And I think there's a story that I'm reading right now, a book actually, that's acting kind of like medicine for me. It's called Anne of Green Gables. I feel like a lot of people have read this book, but I haven't gotten to it until now. And I'm reading it as an audiobook. I think a part of it is very interesting because there's this little girl and her name's Anne, and her imagination is absolutely wild. And I think it's reminding me about how huge my imagination used to be when I was younger. Because I think my imagination is still pretty good. But actually, it isn't the same. It isn't as strong as it used to be. And I've been thinking about that. I've been thinking about whether I want to call it back. You know, call the strength that it used to have. To know. I wonder so many things, And we really can use imagination for such good and wonderful things, for such wonderful stories that we make up and such wonderful feelings when you just close your eyes and you imagine you're somewhere you would like to be. And for some people that's really, really hard, and sometimes it is for me too. Just close your eyes and imagine something amazing, to be open enough to let yourself imagine anything. Like maybe you imagine you're in a forest and there's this huge tree and it has like a tree house in it, and you have to climb up, and there's a rug and this really, really, really cozy chair, and the leaves outside are all green. But if you go to the balcony, you can also start climbing on the branches. And then there's this whole little group of birds gathered on one of the branches, and they're singing together, kind of like one of the mother birds is teaching the younger ones a song. And there's this little table that's in one of the branches, and it has a beautiful lace tablecloth, and on top of it is this platter of desserts, some of your absolute favorite ones, and around it are some cups of tea, maybe 2, maybe 3. And you go and you sit, and you get to drink the tea, and you look at the whole forest from pretty high above. And you can see into the horizon, and you can see the ocean, and you can also see a rainstorm, and you can also see a rainbow, and you can also see the birds flying by. And then maybe there's this dog that knows how to climb trees, and it's your pet, and it's your favorite dog ever, and that dog has climbed up and sat next to you and is super happy to see you and is wagging its tail, and all sorts of things. Maybe a forest is the setting, maybe somewhere else there's so many environments. There's, beaches and mountains and tundras and plains and hills and caves. Do you know how much I would like caves? But maybe if it had like a secret library and a slide, and that would be cool. All that would be very, very cool. But also it could be something even more imaginary, like a castle. I mean, some castles still exist, right? I think. Yeah, but it's so much fun to imagine just that, just period. Like, it's so much fun to imagine. That's a sentence. It can be quite beneficial, actually, I think. And I think we forget that part. Anyway, my point is, the book, Anne of Green Gables, the little girl is absolutely so imaginative. And it's inspiring the same in me. Whenever I listen to an audiobook for a while, I feel like I start to mirror some of the characters and the way that they speak. Well, maybe not all of the characters, but the main character mostly, or anyone who has like a really large speaking role. Like when I was listening to the audiobook of A Gentleman in Moscow, I found myself thinking in words that are a bit of a larger vocabulary than I thought I had, a little bit more fancy. And when I was listening to the audiobook of Pride and Prejudice, I definitely talked a little bit more proper. I found it very interesting and kind of funny. And now that I'm listening to the audiobook of Anne of Green Gables, I find myself thinking of this phrase that she says a lot, which is whether or not something has scope for imagination, I think I get what she means. When you're in a place that's really bland and doesn't have many things, there isn't that much scope for imagination, but there's lots of scope for imagination in nature or in something beautiful or in a decorated room. Scope for imagination. And I find myself wondering whether I want to play with my imagination. And I just find myself going on trains of thought that I feel like she would go on. I don't know if they're mine. I guess they are mine. Or better phrase, I have the capability to go on trains of thought like that, but it's just fun. And I was wondering, what am I going to be like when I'm older? And also, what would younger me wish I was like now or when I'm older? And when I ask, what do I think I'm going to be like when I'm older, I don't just mean older, I mean old. Assuming I get there to when I'm old. I don't know exactly what old is. Maybe it's 60s, 70s. Probably not even 60s. I know a lot of good, spirited 60-year-olds. So maybe 70, 80. Who knows who lives how long, but point is, I wonder what I'd be like as an old woman. Or what do I wish I was like? Or what's one of the ways that I might be like? Here's my shadow. So, maybe one of the versions of the me that's like this old lady me is this really satisfied old woman who's satisfied with her life, about having loved many people and having been loved and having lived out stories and adventures. I mean, I do feel like that is what my life has been. My whole life, basically. So that's not too far away of an imagination. Maybe I'd be some crazy art teacher lady who always wears the most colorful, strange dresses and clothes. Maybe I'll be the old lady who has like this really big spinny skirt and who wears a hat that is the shape of a teacup and has a dog and a cat and loves to invite people for tea. Maybe I will have a house like the house in the Moomin show, if you've ever heard of it, where their doors always open for strangers, for visitors, for people to stop by. And maybe it'll be like a story house and it'll be somewhere in the forest. And I'll have lots of books and I'll have my own library. I have drawn out an idea of what I would love for my house to be one day. But I don't know if this house that I wish is going to be the same as the one that I live in when I'm old, but we'll see. Anyway, so I have books, and sometimes friends come and visit me, and there's lots of fun, and of course, I have tons of art supplies, because how could I not? And I have a studio, and I have a huge, huge table to make art on, and I can do anything because I'm an adult and I own the table. Like I bought the table or I made the table or someone helped me make the table. Point is, it's not someone else's table, and I can draw on it if I want, and I can, use the hot glue gun or like use the sharp cutting tool to cut paper on the table, and it's going to have all sorts of marks and paints and markers, and it's going to be so beautiful. And I'm going to have a table for tea, and I'm going to have lots of cozy tables, and I'm going to have all my journals and the things that I have kept as memories throughout the years that I haven't decided to throw out yet, because, if I never threw anything out, that would be way, 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 way too much stuff. So I try to keep just only a few things, some important things that just remind me and bring me back to the memory. At least bring me back clearer to the memory. And maybe it would be a town where travelers pass by, or a trail where travelers pass by. And maybe people have heard of me. Maybe I will be some sort of like woman who gives away stories as medicine when travelers come by, and they'll tell me their stories. And maybe I'll give them a book or a short story or a poem, or I'll write something especially for them, and we'll drink tea in the moonlight under the stars, and I'll have a campfire. Oh, a campfire. That would be wonderful. And who would these strangers be? And how would they know that my door is open? Well, they could just, I guess that's kind of what you do as an innkeeper, right? But I don't think I'd want to be like an innkeeper. I think at that age I have so much enough of everything that people don't really pay, It's not like they're coming to pay to stay at a hotel. No, it's just like, maybe it's a witch in the woods. Yeah, but I don't think I'm there. Like, I don't think I'm quite at witch level yet. So, we'll see. Why do I imagine that I'm practically by myself in this house? That's not necessary. Maybe there's other people. Maybe my best friends are there, and we just all grew old together. Maybe all of us have our partners or not, but if we do, they also live in this house. And we have a garden of food that's just so tasty, because you can grow carrots, and then when the carrots are ready, pick them out of the ground and you wash them in a rain barrel, if rain is still clean enough to use to wash fruits and vegetables, and then you just bite the carrot, and it's the most beautiful thing. And back to the strangers and the stories. Maybe, the stranger. Maybe just some people would wander in on purpose and some people would just wander in by accident. And if they found my house, they could knock on my door and I'd open my door and I'd welcome them inside. Because I guess when you're old, right, you kind of want company. And, sometimes that company isn't always with people you know. Because if you're old, that probably means your friends are old too. Some of them might not be there anymore. Some of your family might not either. And maybe if you're old, then if you had kids, maybe they're busy doing their lives because they're in the middle of their lives. And maybe they have kids and they're growing up and they're also all busy learning about what life is or not. And I don't know. There's going to be some point, some time where you're just finding, you just get to do what you want, which could be any point in life, but you have to make your own joy. Can't rely on other people to do it for you. Yeah, and so maybe you'll find company with strangers. Maybe there's going to be a stranger or two that come periodically to your house. And maybe like once a month or something. Or once every couple weeks, like 6. And you share stories and you get to hear what's happening in the lives of these people and the interesting developments. And maybe I'll be the person who's open to hear just about anything. Maybe I will be, maybe I won't. I wonder if I'll be so stubborn and in my own ways and in my own traditional thinking that right now isn't traditional yet, but then when we get, all those decades later, it probably will be so traditional and I'll be like, no, this is the right way of I don't know, doing something, or I'll have a particular set of things that I consider as manners and rude, and it's like, oh no, please talk to me in the language that I know, because you know how Gen Alpha has kind of a new language at this point. They talk like skibbity riz and what else is there? There's a lot of words. There's a lot of new words, and I feel like conversation keeps getting shortened, words keep getting shortened, and honestly, I don't really know what they all mean. I have seen enough videos that I'm not entirely lost, but there's going to be another generation after them and another one after them by the time I'm old. So what is language going to be then? I hope we still have language. I hope we still find words interesting and want to use them to communicate, unless we learn telepathy by then. Then I guess I'll understand if we don't really use words much anymore. But if we haven't learned how to use telepathy and words are being really, really shortened all the time, that I see as slightly problematic. Yeah. Even me, I feel like my vocabulary is okay. But then I listen to books and I listen to how they express ideas and some of the classic books, and suddenly I feel so much more inspired to learn new words and care about new words and use new words so that I can express more thoughts and ideas. But I've also been thinking about it realistically. No matter how many words you know or I know, when I say one word, you might think of one thing, your friend might think of another, your parent might think of another. Everyone has a different feeling associated with like every single word. And it's as simple as, when people say imagine an apple, it's like yeah, you know what an apple is, but what color is your apple? And did you imagine it as an apple that you eat? Or is it like a picture of an apple? Did you imagine the Apple computer? Right? Like we all have our associations and connotations of like whether a word feels negative or positive or forceful or gentle or fast or slow. I feel like there is a feeling that I have, which I have only ever used one word to describe. But when I say that word, it doesn't ever begin to explain what I mean. And I know this because if people could see and feel what I meant when I said that one word, what I wanted to mean, what I wanted to communicate, they'd be amazed, I think, or joyful, or in awe. But everyone has a different idea of it. Do I say what the word is or not? Am I ready for that? I don't know. Because when I say it, it's what you think is probably not what I mean. And I don't, for the life of me yet, know how to explain what I do indeed mean. Anyway, when I'm old, maybe I'll be against technology, the new technology, whatever it will be, and I'll want to live in a house with a campfire. Or maybe lots of people will, because a lot of people actually are leaning towards communities and gardens and growing their own food. I wonder what technology will be like. I really hope we all use it in a positive way, and so that we benefit ourselves and the world, because we can do that. There is an AI revolution starting right now. Some people refuse to look at it, some people use it so much but don't think about how they're using it, and others are trying to study it and use it for, not to replace human thinking or learning, but to aid it. There's a big difference. I like being able to think, and I like being able to reflect. And it really did take work to get here. And it's going to take effort if I want to maintain the level of thinking that I can do, or if I even want to make it better than it already is. Because how do we even learn to think for ourselves? Sometimes we're just stubborn little kids and we have our own opinions, and nobody can break them. Nobody can take them from us. Doesn't matter what the whole world says. Nobody can take it. But I feel like that's not as often the case as, we absorb everything around us when we're kids. What people say, what people think, the way they act. All the people around us, whether they're parents, siblings, friends, teachers. So how do we learn to think for ourselves? I feel like it has a lot to do with asking questions and Sometimes even like these principles of just remembering that you can always choose to entertain a different perspective. You don't have to believe it to consider it, to really give it your consideration and time of thought. I keep going on all sorts of wandering roads as I think about things. And then I remember where I started, and I feel like I haven't fully answered that question yet. And then I want to think about it more, about what I would be like when I'm old. I really hope that when I'm old, I've either had kids or I remember what it was like being a kid somewhat, so that I can treat kids well. As in, I hope I'm not going to be the old person who just always asks, "Oh, do you have a boyfriend? Oh, do you have a girlfriend? Oh, what do you want to do with your life?" At every single restaurant birthday party. I know they mean well and I know they love me, but the same questions over and over and over get a little tiring. I hope I'm not the old person that tells kids, "Oh, you shouldn't be loud," or "You shouldn't play." That phrase, "kids should be seen and not heard." I don't think that has been directly said to me much, but it's definitely come across in other ways. And I wonder, and I hope I'm that old person who still likes to play. Because when you're a kid, you love to play, and it doesn't matter who. If the old people are willing to play and they have that spirit of playfulness, you'll play with them and you'll enjoy it. And you'll sometimes wonder why they stopped playing. Why don't they want to go run around in the grass? Well, okay, maybe they don't want to run around in the grass because, they got old and, their body hurts. Hopefully that won't be me, but, if it is, okay, fine, whatever. I won't run around in the grass, but I'll gladly make art, and I'll make all sorts of crazy art. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be anything in particular. We'll get out however many art supplies you want, and we'll make the strangest sculptures, and we'll imagine they're monster creatures, and play pretend, and maybe even play hide and seek with them. Who knows? Who knows? I don't know how I got from where I am now to the thought that I now want to talk about. But we're just going to skip over because somehow we got here, which is this game called Club Penguin. I used to play it a lot as a kid in elementary school, and I also used to play Moshi Monsters. They're like computer games, the things that used to be around before Adobe Flash was essentially taken away, and so all these games kind of died out, and people have remade them, but it was really sad when the games died out. Anyway, I've been thinking so much about Club Penguin because I started playing it again, and I can't stop myself from thinking about the philosophy of Club Penguin, or like the connection of Club Penguin to life. Because if you haven't ever heard of this game, basically every single person gets a penguin. Like, you create your own penguin. You are a penguin, and you choose a color and you choose a name, and there's this kind of island where there's a ski hill, there's a lighthouse, there's a cove, a lakeside, a town. There's like a few shops, like there's a pizzeria, there's a clothing, like a gift shop, there's a nightclub, there's a coffee house, there's a mine, there's a recycling center, there's an iceberg, there's a forest, there's an underground. Point is, there's like this map of a place, and you can explore it and you can play these games, and every single month there's like a different style of clothes that you can buy. And when you play the games, you make coins and you make money. And as your penguin gets older, sometimes there's new things that get unlocked. Like if you're 30 days old, then you can become a secret agent and you can go on spy missions. And if you're 45 days old, you can take the quiz in order to become a tour guide of the place. And you can have your own igloo, and you can have these pets which are called puffles. And the point is, my friend got me started on this whole train of thought about philosophy with this one question. Or not one question, one statement. He said, like, capitalism is okay in the video games. Like, it's fine. We can go buy everything in the gift shop. Like, we can make money and we can buy every single item of clothes. And it's fine here. Like, consumerism. I probably meant consumerism when I said capitalism that first time. But, like, consumerism is fine. And that just set me off. Because I was thinking, if I bought everything in this month's catalog and the next month's catalog, everything at all that was possible to buy, whether for the igloo or for the pets or for, dressing up my penguin, if I bought everything, right? And I completed all of the stamps, and stamps are kind of like quests or goals to check off, like if you reach a certain level in a game, or you find this hidden object, or you say hello to one of the mascots. And some of them can only be achieved during certain parties. But let's say if I've reached all the goals of the game, right? Solved all the mysteries that have been created, and I bought all the things that there were, then what would I care to play even more, right? Like, why would I care? And the reason would be other people. If it was just me by myself, then for a little while I would find it interesting to play the games and to try to get better at them, to master them, and to try on different clothes and make enough money to buy the clothes and to solve everything that needs to be solved, like the mysteries or the goals. I would find that interesting for a little while. But then at some point I wouldn't. Maybe everything would be complete, but maybe I would get bored before everything was complete. Some things I would just stop caring about. And so then the only reason to play would be, well, one, if your friends are there, because then everything's more fun and then you're just hanging out. Maybe there isn't any more mystery to solve or goals to reach, but you just hang out and you play. And even better is if there are young penguins, like penguins who are a few days old, who haven't seen any of the mysteries yet, who might not even know that they're there, or the surprises, or know how to reach the goals, and then you can help them. And at that point, you've already done them all. You don't even need them to give you anything. You don't expect them to give you anything. You really don't care. You just want to help them, because frankly, you got nothing else to do, right? That would be a fun purpose. You're going to be like, let me help you. I can help you if you want me to help you. And I feel like that mirrors life, because, we're young and we're so excited about what is this world actually still. I don't think I'm out of that yet. I just realized, wow, I realized that, like, as soon as I said it in this very second. I'm not past this, like, what is this world? What is this world? What are these things? What is this everything? Maybe none of us ever really are, even no matter how old we get. But, you have more experiences the older you get. And so even if you don't know everything, which you never will, you'll know more. You'll know how to do things more. You'll know how things work. just like my other video of like the cooking and stuff, I know don't fry things in a pot, and all sorts of other information that like kid doesn't know yet. They're still yet to discover it. And some things you absolutely have to leave for them to discover themselves. But if there's a particular goal they're trying to reach and you know how to get there and you can help them, you don't do it for them, but you can help them. You can tell them where to go. You can tell them what to do or what to practice. You can help. I feel like maybe when you get old, if you're satisfied with your life, all you actually want to do is help. Or maybe not. Maybe you just want to enjoy whatever you want to enjoy. But in the context of the game, like there's nothing left. Like you've played it all. You've played all the mini games and you've done all the other things. And so all that's left is like the joy of there being new penguins who don't know it yet, because then you get to see their joy, right, at finding a surprise or at reaching one of the goals, and you get to remember when that was you, but you also feel so glad that it's them now. I feel like once upon a time I told myself that I never wanted to have this in-between period when I forgot creativity, magic, curiosity, and playfulness, and this sense of, what is this world? When you fall into the responsibilities of adulthood. I was so worried about that part. Because when I was a kid, I saw so many adults that were miserable, and I didn't want to grow up at all. But partially, actually, because I'm listening to this audiobook, Anne of Green Gables, it's making me consider that it's quite poetic to have a time in your life when you are so focused on adulting and responsibilities that you do kind of forget that it's possible for everything in your physical reality to be unknown and new and interesting, and how does it work, and how does gravity work, and why is water so soft or not, or just when you forget, because it's not new anymore. It hasn't been for a while. It's kind of common. And isn't that all the more beautiful? Doesn't that part of life make it all the more fun when you get older and maybe have kids and interact with kids, and they get to remind you about all these things that you forgot, because they see the world as if they've never seen it before. And they have this amazing creativity and curiosity. We're all born with it. Sometimes school just like takes it away a little bit or tries to dim that spark and that light. But, when kids are born with it, they play pretend, they play so many things. And when they play and when they imagine, it's practically real. It's not this thought in your head. It's not this weight of, yeah, I can imagine it, but it's like 100% not real, and it's not going to be real. And you don't even, and because it's just not going to be real, you don't let yourself feel any of it as if it could be real or as if it is real. But kids don't have that. It's, oh, look, this stick is, I don't know, there's a fairy riding on this stick, and I got this stick just because I knew that the fairy was going to come and sit on it. And so now I have this little fairy friend, and I need to make sure to be very kind and careful to her, because she was actually just almost attacked by a bear, and I kind of saved her from the bear, and I think that she wants to live with us now, So I'm gonna go make her bed, but I'll put her over here, and I think she's gonna be okay. And she has yellow wings, and I really like her. But I'm gonna have to find her a friend. Or maybe she has friends, but she lost them. I'll have to ask her about it later, because I think she fell asleep. But I'll make sure she's safe. And I'm gonna go build her a house. Like, or can I use this blanket to crawl under? Because I'm gonna make a cave, and I'm gonna go exploring in the dark, and I'm gonna see what's there, and just, I don't know. And like, maybe you've spent forever writing on lined paper with just like regular words and things, and your kid comes and like, draws marks all over it, having like zero concept of the fact that the lines are meant to, guide your writing. And then all the rules are broken, and you realize again for the first time how many things you have been following that you just chose to accept, chose to believe, that aren't actually like set in stone. And then you get to choose, like, oh, do you have some fun again with like letting these things break, or not, or do you just, you try to guide your kids and show them how some things in the world work, or what choices society has made in order to live as harmoniously as possible, hopefully as harmoniously as possible. But yeah, it becomes so interesting. And it's like you kind of get older, and some of these things seem less fun. Like, I'm gonna make mud soup or mud pies, Like, you'd go and you'd mix all the things with the dirt. You'd have dirt, and you'd have water, and then you'd put all different things in it. You'd put a rock, and you'd put, leaves, and you'd cut the leaves into different shapes, and you'd mix it maybe with a stick, or you'd find this few pieces of sand, or who knows what. And you get older, and you're like, well, why would I spend my time on that? But when you're a kid, it's like, well, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? And I hope I will grow up, and I will be that person who, even as an adult, understands to some extent, well, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you play? Yes, there are responsibilities, but they cannot always be placed above play. I don't think. As long as everything's enough. It doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to have all the laundry folded. You don't have to have all the dishes clean. You don't have to have all the plans in order for the next week or something else. You can leave that stuff on pause. It's not going to run away. Nothing's going to fall down. You can go and play. And I hope I talk to kids with respect, not like looking down on them. Of course, I'd be kind and nice, but I hope also specifically respectful of them as, humans. Not. I feel like a lot of people look down on kids because kids are little and don't know anything yet. And yeah, that's what they're supposed to be. But I'll trust them, because I feel like I, as a kid, was often not trusted, despite the fact that I did not tell lies. And this angered me so much. Actually, I don't think it angered me. I think it made me feel really bad, and I think it angers me now, because I got older and I realized that was absolutely unnecessary on other people's part. Given that I had given absolutely zero evidence or like consistency of lying. Like I didn't do it, so I don't understand why people just thought I wasn't telling the truth. It was just really not nice. Anyway, yeah, to just trust what they say. And hopefully, even if the world changes so much that I don't understand what's happening with the technology or something else, hopefully I will be open to hearing about it. Hopefully I won't completely close myself off to it if the kids that I'm around or with appreciate the new technology or use it or find it interesting. I think it would be very nice of me if I could put in the effort to learn about some of the things, some of the games that they would like to play now, whatever the new games are, or, songs that they listen to. Just to put in that effort to kind of understand what their world is. Because each of our worlds are different. And each generation has a different world. And, kids are curious. If you tell them about your world as a story, they'll be curious about it. Until, of course, they get a little bit older and they're going to be like, oh, that's so old, I don't know if I ever had that phase. Oh, that's so old. I don't really think I did. Yeah, but we can all have some curiosity if we don't lose it as adults. I think it'll make the world of the kids even brighter, to some extent, more colorful, or at least more safe, because they'll feel, I don't know, I feel like maybe trying to understand something could be one of those acts of love. Something you don't just say that I love you, but you try to understand, and maybe you won't understand because maybe it'll be so wildly different, but I guess I hope that my priorities are just in the right place when I get older. I hope I don't get too rigid in what I think, because sometimes I do and sometimes I might, and who knows what will happen or won't happen to make me feel, I don't know, like I still can be playful. It's nice to have people around me that are also playful. And I hope that when I'm old or when I'm around kids that I'll never tell them that playfulness or magic is childish, because they'll think they have to lose it as they grow up. And they don't. They don't have to at all. None of the things that you love as a kid are things you have to give up just because you've become an adult. And even if you like those things, as an adult that you liked as a kid, that doesn't make you any less of an adult. That doesn't make you any less responsible. Not like, just that's what I mean. It doesn't make you any less responsible for yourself or for the duties of the things that you have to do to take care of yourself or maybe other people. Yeah. Yeah. I feel like I've got a lot of those things that I loved as a kid, and I actually have lately noticed that a lot of them are faded compared to what they used to be, and I don't know that was a conscious choice I consented to. I feel like it happened not because I wanted to necessarily, but because I felt like I had to. Or like, I used to just jump up and down when I got excited, just like jumping about so many things that I would get excited about. And I wonder why I stopped jumping up and down when I'm excited. Or maybe I haven't. Maybe I just haven't had a bunch of people in person to tell things that I'm excited about. Or so I just sit there and I just go like, hee. But yeah. I feel like sometimes it seemed like the things that I loved as a child, the things that I continued to love as I was growing up, got me labeled as childish and innocent. And innocent doesn't have to be bad, but it came with gullible and sort of other words that made it seem like I maybe couldn't be responsible for myself, or, couldn't be trusted to look out after myself, or, to use critical thinking. Like, I liked talking to strangers, and some strangers were so nice to me, and, they loved to hear about, what I was curious about in that moment, or, that I was doing dance, or that I could do a cartwheel. And do you want me to show you I can do a cartwheel, or I can walk on my hands? I was a kid. And my mom was like, you shouldn't talk to any strangers at all. And I know that that's like a thing that we teach kids, that you shouldn't talk to any strangers at all. But I frankly don't think that's right. It's like, some strangers are nice and some aren't. Like, use your judgment. Like, learn how to use your judgment and the context and the environment and the actions of the people. Because, man, I travel around the world. Like, I've traveled a lot. I've made friends in different countries. All of these people were once strangers, who are now my friends that live in different countries. So it's context. It's context. And just because maybe I could have those words of like innocent, or to some extent gullible, which I will admit at one point there is one particular moment where that I learned my lesson about that one, and I put up a few more walls and boundaries. So, but hey, I learned it wasn't the end of the world. So we're okay. And what was I just talking about? Point is, context about strangers. Yeah, just because I can be playful and curious and creative, that doesn't mean I'm going to be like that with everyone. Nor does it mean that I'm going to talk to everyone. I'm still quite particular. It's not like I just walk up to strangers and talk to them. Though I can't say that I wouldn't do that. I don't know. Some days I feel social anxiety and like feel like I don't even want to go into a cafe to ask if I can take to go a food that I haven't tried yet, because, I'm worried of like, oh, what if I don't like it? So I don't want to eat it at the cafe, but I want to try it. So like, maybe I can take it to go, but like, what if I can't take it to go? Then I went in there and asked, and then I have to make a choice of like, do I sit there or do I go without having gotten it? And sometimes I'm like, I don't want to do any of that. And other times I'm just sitting at the park and there's somebody next to me and we just start talking. I don't know them. It's okay. We just start talking about life. Who are you? Who am I? What are you doing here? What are you doing here? How did you end up here in this place at this moment? And, out of all of your life, you are here at this place at this moment at this time. And you are as you are, whoever you are.